And let's move on. A way to strengthen the partnership between Astana and Dushanbe is for Tajikistan to join the Eurasian Economic Union. This could enhance ties not only between Kazakhstan and Tajikistan, but also with other union members, said Helene Tubo, an associate professor of political science at Nazarbayev University, in an interview to New Time reporter Baljan Samigulina. The expert, who has spent over a decade researching Central Asia, notices that the region has been grappling with a range of new challenges, both global and regional. These issues are affecting the foreign and domestic policies of the countries, including their relationships with one another, like those between Kazakhstan and Tajikistan, as well as the prospects for regional and post-Soviet integration. So, how will these challenges shape the future of Astana-Dushanbe relations? Watch the fragment of the interview right now.
Mr. Bo, thank you for joining us. It's a great pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, 2024 has been marked with a flurry of diplomatic activity in Central Asia with engagements in different fields. How would you describe the current state of relations between Kazakhstan and Tajikistan right now?
I think we have seen in the last few years an increase in engagement in the region, and I think it's a very positive outcome. And to some extent, there's a lot still to be done in that regard to increase the level of cooperation and the level of trade between countries. And in that regard, I think Kazakhstan and Tajikistan have a lot to catch up. In that sense, they are not connected geographically, and transportation is an issue between Kazakhstan and because of the borders, and there is no direct flight, for instance, between Astana and Dushanbe. There used to be one, but pre-pandemic. So an increase in the volume of trade and just in general. Transit would be something that would be very welcomed. And economic relations could also be very much strengthened in the sense that the volume of trade between Kazakhstan and Tajikistan is not very significant at the moment. And I think countries have a lot to work on in that regard to increase this volume of trade.
Kazakhstan and Tajikistan are both players in Central Asia in one region, and they have a shared Soviet heritage as well as similar languages and religion that are important in public life in both countries. But at the same time, as you just mentioned, the cooperation between two countries is not that much efficient as it could be. So what are the key unresolved issues are still remaining between the two countries, do you think? Maybe in the matter of water, which is, quite problematic in our region as well. What would you say on that?
I think, one of the possible options would be if Tajikistan would join the Eurasian Economic Union, for instance. So Kyrgyzstan is a member, Kazakhstan is, but Tajikistan is not. So I think one easy way would be the institutional channel for Tajikistan to join. I think it would facilitate a lot of agreements. So this multilateral platform that the Eurasian Economic Union could offer could help in strengthening the relations between not only Kazakhstan and Tajikistan, but the other members of the Eurasian Economic Union. And you mentioned water issues that are pretty critical in the region that have led to violent conflicts between Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. Not only water issues, but there are also local tensions revolving around water or other political aspects. But Kazakhstan could be a mediator, for instance, and it's true that they have a shared Soviet past. There's cultural similarities between the two countries, even though Tajikistan is not a Turkic-speaking country, it's a Persian-speaking country. But at the same time, the culture and the shared history create this kind of synergies and similarities between the two countries.
So even though we have many similarities between the two nations, as far as you mentioned in your article, you say that after the Soviet Union collapsed, Kazakhstan and Tajikistan chose different ways to develop, right? Can you please tell some more concrete details how these separate in the ways would perhaps impact on future relations between the two countries?
Well, Tajikistan had a very rough start in 1991. Well, it wasn't easy for anybody after the collapse of the Soviet Union, but it was particularly brutal in Tajikistan because the civil war erupted in 1991, which completely disrupted the economic development. So their developmental paths were very different, very different, and we see with indicators that Tajikistan is behind in terms of economic development if we compare it to Kazakhstan. So in that sense, Kazakhstan could certainly boost. I mean, the trade between Kazakhstan and Tajikistan would definitely help to boost economic development in Tajikistan.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.